Hello, hello. Mark Attwood here. Adventures in a Cosmic Suit with very bad hat hair. Jesus. Gotta sort myself out. You'd think I'd start taking presenting seriously, wouldn't you? No. Can't be bothered. Too much else going on. Hello, Harbinder. How are you? Why are we waiting? Come on. It's like 30 seconds. Chill out. A and P. Hello, Mark from the Isle of Man. Whoa. I saw your upload about friends and family, and wow, are you me? Everything's possible in this world. Anyway, Isle of Man. I've got a funny story about Isle of Man. I did a comedy gig there 25 years ago, and it was the scariest. I'm an ex-pilot. Well, I'm still a pilot, but it was the scariest plane ride of my life. And I think we were in a nightclub called the TARDIS. Is that still there, AMP? The TARDIS? Is that nightclub still there? I've never met, I mean, it was a great crowd, but my God, couldn't they drink on the Isle of Man? Well, that was 25 years ago. Maybe they don't anymore. Maybe they all just have soy lattes and go around on electric scooters. I've not been there in 25 years. That seems to be the story with the rest of the world. Kathy Childers, hello from Kentucky. How's it going? I always wonder why they dropped the Kentucky from Kentucky Fried Chicken. Why do you think that was? Maybe because there ain't no chicken in that no more. It ain't from Kentucky. Who else have we got here? Love Dream, great name. Is that a real name? Don't think so, but it's nice. Hello from South Africa. Good to see you. Shelley Kerr, Mark from Sitges, Spain. I don't know how to pronounce Spanish stuff. I was in Ibiza recently, and I was talking German for some reason to Spanish people. Susan Appley, hello. Wearing my cold laser wrist X, thank you. Yes, I just took mine off. It's not in this room right now. I'm having a load of work done. Can you see I have a new wall? Do you like it? It's a green wall. AMP, no mate. Oh, that's a shame. The TARDIS is gone. Mike A, hello from Wigan. Hi, Wigan. I've not been there in a while either. Hopefully we'll next year. Joan Tomlin from Who's Your State, Indiana. Hello, Joan. Nice to see you. There is no chicken in KFC, says Kathy. No, I'm pretty sure there isn't. I don't know what it is. But I'm going to make I'm doing a fake away tonight. Have you ever done a fake away? I've been enjoying them recently. I've just did the sausage and egg muffin, but I've done it with real ingredients, no human meat, in other words. Although I'm not so sure, because where I got the pork meat from, maybe not. Who knows? I think that's all over. You remember all the food things that went up in flames last year in America? I think that was the end of the human meat. But they have just thrown up a McDonald's down the road, which is very interesting because the thing just appeared out of nowhere in like 10 minutes. And a friend of mine said he was at McDonald's and it took 55 minutes to get a burger. So maybe they are fucked in different ways. Hello, Joe Poli from Portugal. Oh, that's interesting. My friend is in Portugal. This is funny. I went to see Julie Reed and Daniel at Renine Wellness Centre. I did a video on Renine not so long ago at the weekend. And it was really funny because my son came to see me last Thursday, and he said one of his friends was in Portugal on holiday and bumped into somebody who knew me. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I mean, it's not that weird. I was in Ibiza, and then we bumped into people that knew me. So it's kind of strange. But not strange people, just strange that people know you in different countries. And I was like, wow, what a coincidence. What a weird coincidence. And I went to see Julie, and her son, Simeon, is in Portugal. And it turns out it was Simeon meeting my son's mate. How small is this world? Sunny Mexico. Hi, sunny day. I was on the phone to Mexico last night. Not the whole country. That would be silly. But to two people. Liverpool, Eddie Simonson. Great. Love Liverpool. Love Dream, not my real name, but I am dreaming that love will rule the world. Yes, love will rule the world. And to talk about that, let's bring on a couple of my favorite ladies, Abby Wynn and Julian. Hello, Abby.
Hiya, how are you doing?
I'm just wondering, I'm turning into a daytime DJ.
It was interesting what you just said about how small the world is. I'm really noticing that. It's like there's less people in it or something.
Yeah.
It's weird. Did I tell you the story about when Honey and I went over to Vancouver to meet Janine, and we were getting off the plane that was packed plane. We go to the baggage carousel. There's only 2 bags on there, mine and hers. It was very strange.
I saw a tweet the other day, and it all makes sense in the Twilight Zone. It does.
Yeah.
It does. Well, yeah, I've been noticing, like, I was with someone the other day, and I was like, "This is like a ghost town." Maybe that's it. Maybe that we're in the middle of it, and it's just they're disappearing.
It's weird. There's definitely glitches.
Maybe we've disappeared. Are you really there?
No, I think you could be onto something. You know, the whole holographic world, and we've ascended into a different frequency.
Well, Eric Gabriel just said, "Hi, Abby. Maybe the NPCs are gone now." Well, they're not gone because I've seen some. I have definitely seen some, but maybe they're going. And I was thinking about this the other day. And Julian, I'm going to bring you on in a sec. I was thinking about this the other day because my first experience as an adult of seeing people go out of focus was about 13 years ago. And I walked into my office, and there was a lovely kid there working for the company that I set up. And he was literally out of focus. He was like 6'4". And he was completely out of focus. Everything else was in focus. And I looked around, rubbed my eyes, and I was like, "Craig, you're out of focus. What the fuck's going on?" And he was like, "What are you real about?" And he was completely out of focus.
Yeah, and because I had told you that my dad was out of focus last weekend. Like he hadn't really landed here, but then I saw him since then, and he was here because I'm not leaving him behind. I'm just a bit like that. Yeah.
Well, no, we're all pretty stubborn like that.
Yeah.
Hi, Lisa Cry Freedom. I shared your video yesterday. I hope that got out, and hope that some help comes to that lady down in Galway, I think it was. You guys watching, there will be a link underneath this video to my email list. Make sure you're on that, please, because that's how you stop. You know, this particular platform is very, very keen on kicking me off it. So let's stay in touch that way. I've been going on Substack recently. I had to get a tutorial from Abby on how to use the bloody thing, but that's a really good place for non-censorship at the moment. Rumble's censoring me, been shadow banning me for ages, same as Telegram. X, I don't like calling it X, but I'm going to, is X and Substack seems to be the only uncensored places at the moment. So do come along to there. I'm going to bring on, Andrew Mills is there. Hello. Do you ever do any work?
Carol. Hi, Carol. Great to see you.
Hi, Carol. Oh, I didn't see Carol. Hi, Carol. How's it going? Costa Rica. Gillian, I've got two of you here. Which one am I going to pick? The one of you side on, or the one of you face on?
Julian's there twice.
I'm going to try one. Let's try this one. That one works.
Hi. Yeah, that's the phone one.
Okay.
Hello. Hello.
Hi, Julian.
Hi, Mark. Hi, Abby. I am a twin, actually. So
you are now.
Yeah, that's two
so,
of us.
Just to explain to anybody that how could you possibly not know who these two are? So Abby and I have been friends for over a year. She's an author. Where's your book? Here's a book we're going to talk about today a little bit, One Day at a Time by Abby Wynn. I don't know how she cranks them out, but she does. They're huge.
Well, we just cranked one out together. Come on.
Oh, yeah. We've just written a book together, and I'm a little bit behind on the editing duties because of all the franchise inquiries we've had. But our book is called Weapons of Mass Protection, and it's going to be out early next year. So keep an eye out for that, because it's not bad, is it?
I think it's great. I love it.
Well, that's good, because you've read it. I haven't read it yet.
Well, we definitely wrote it together anyway. So
we did. And Gillian, you're here. If you've not watched Gillian and me in the Peak District from January, which is called, you can find it on Rumble, themarkoutwoodshow.com, BitChute. It's called what's it called? Something about the 5D sun in the Peak District.
Yeah, unblocking the.
That's it.
Unblocking the 5D sun, I think.
And somebody just commented on that the other day, said it was the best video they thought I'd done, and it was powerful, wasn't it?
Incredibly powerful. Yes, I think to be there in that moment was a time I'll never forget, with that phenomena of the sun.
I'll never forget it either. It was absolutely amazing, and it still annoys me that the camera couldn't capture what we saw, but we are seeing very, very interesting things with the sun and the moon at the moment. I posted a video by Ian Welch this morning on my Telegram channel showing that the moon had gone down over here, but then another one popped up over there. And I've also been posting a lot of videos on Telegram and Twitter of UFOs that I've seen and that lots of viewers have seen, which is really, really exciting. Are you guys excited by those sort of things?
Definitely.
I know the answer.
Yeah,
I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, my daughter's just moved down to Dingle Peninsula in County Kerry. And I said to her, you have to take pictures of the UFOs. And I think they're a little scared, so they mightn't show up for them. I think being afraid kind of pushes them away a bit. Do you think?
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because most people watching my channel know that I've been seeing UFOs for decades. And it was only when I got an email a couple of years ago from somebody saying they know that you look up every night. That, I get thousands of emails a week. That one really stuck out, and I just stopped me in my tracks. I was like, how do they know that? Because that's true. I do. I go out every night, mainly to have a fag, but don't tell anybody that. So I go to have and that's when I first properly communicated one, because they told me how to do it. And then I got this massive ship here. And ever since then, I've been chilled out and just getting on with life and trying to do positive things, because I know that the theatre that we're seeing before us is not anything to particularly worry about, because we're eternal spirits. And if you die, who gives a shit anyway?
Well, I'm just seeing spacecraft. If it's not cloudy, I literally see them every night. It's got that common that, they're always in the sky, and we communicate with them and call them in. So yeah, it's a very common thing, and they're quite different. They're not always the same. I've seen lots of different ones. I think it's only a matter of time until, this is normal for most people.
Well, this brings up, I mean, a lot of people are seeing them. A lot of people are saying that's satellite, that's Starlink, you idiot, or that's a plane, you just can't see the wings. Admittedly, sometimes these videos, pictures may be those things, but there's too many sightings of too much stuff. There's a kind of feedback thing going on here with somebody, but what comes to mind is Stuart Wilde. You both know Stuart Wilde, don't you?
No.
No? Okay. Stuart Wilde was the first author to be published by Louise Hay after she was published by her own company.
Right.
And he brought out an amazing book called The Infinite Self, which I read about 15 years ago. And I became a very big Stuart Wilde fan and read a lot of his books, and had a palm reading from one of his friends, actually. That's all coming true now, which is crackers. I was thinking about that the other day. And I need to find him again. He's in Denmark. I can't remember his name right now. But Stuart Wilde, towards the end of his life, he died in Ireland. His last videos were really weird. He was going into Super Valley saying, "Oh, you can live on a fiver in Ireland. It's easy." Can't do that now, Stuart, wherever you are. not if you're shopping in Super Valley anyway. Sorry, Julian.
You used to be able to go out for the night for a fiver when I started going out.
That was 2 and 6 when I was starting going.
Oh, wow.
But the Americans go, what's 2 and 6? What does that mean? I was thinking about that this morning, because the big event that happened in 1966, 50 more than that years ago, was the decimalization. Wasn't it 68? Sorry, I'll forget that, because that was a thought from this morning. I'll forget that. But anyway, Stuart Wilde, towards the end, he was talking about the fact that the UFOs that we were seeing in the sky were actually demons. What do you think to that idea?
I'm believing more and more that they're us in the future, coming back to us now.
Well, that's what Alex Collier said to me when I interviewed him a couple of years ago. I told him about the UFO, and he said that was your future self. And I went, oh, that's an interesting idea.
I think there's good and bad. In my new book, Spiritual Development in 5D, I've done a little paragraph on how to safely communicate with ETs, because there's good and bad. It's just like any spiritual practice. You wouldn't open the door for anybody. You would need to be discerning over the nature of who they are. So I think maybe some of them are demons in the sky from the work that, I do with the clearing and stuff. But it just depends what vibe you're on, I think.
Well, let's quickly talk about your book. Hold it up, because I can't find yours, because my house is a mess. There it is. What's it called again?
It's called Spiritual Development in 5D. So
all right, just tell everybody where they can get that from first.
Okay, Amazon for the paperback versions, and the audio on julianengland.com, and the Kindle on julianengland.com and on Amazon.
And Abby, where can they get yours from? which we're going to talk about.
Well, I've given you a link. It's on my website, but it's also on Amazon.
So you can just go to Amazon or go to abby-wynne.com, WYNNE. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, because it's self-published this year. I lost my my traditional publisher. No surprise there, but they said it was due to rising costs. What was really interesting though is this is the one from last year. I've been doing these now for 6 or 7 years, and I opened it up to today to see what did I say it would be for today. And it says Tuesday, the 5th of December, I am learning how to look after myself better. And I think I think that's kind of where we are right now, learning how to look after ourselves better. So yeah, it's interesting. When you're in something, when you were saying that some predictions were coming true for you now, it's when you're in it is when you can really clarify those things. But when you hear them, it's like, well, what do I do with this information? So it's nice to be in the present moment more and be aware of what's going on, I think.
Well, you two are massively powerful energy healers, and I think the energy is a bit crazy. Well, it's been crazy for years, but I mean, it's shifted again in the last few weeks. What's your take, Julian?
Definitely, I can really feel a change. I think a couple of weeks ago it felt like we'd changed from one frequency to another, and every day brings a different energy. And I've really felt the sun. The last week, all the emissions from the sun, and I think what it's doing is opening up everybody's heart center. I put on a video on my channel about, I'll be careful what I say because I don't want to use trigger words on YouTube, but the global situation that we're getting warmer and warmer, but I use that in terms of our hearts are getting warmer and warmer. People's hearts are definitely opening up, and they're definitely being more open to spiritual phenomena. People that would laugh at me 10 years ago when I shared anything, they're actually opening up now. So I think it's wonderful, and I really think it's a combination of things. The age of Aquarius, the collective consciousness is definitely rising, and I just find it really exciting after being awake and doing this kind of work for forever. And now I can really see a tangible difference. I don't know if you can, Abby, with what your work, and you've been doing this for a long time, and are you seeing a change with people as well?
Oh, it was funny, Julian, because I feel like a whole nother dimension of me has come through in the last 3 years, and I've given myself permission now to show that part of me to the world, and the world is responding in kind. So last week I did a 2-hour workshop called Clairsentience, Divination, and How to Manifest Your Best and Highest Timeline. And I never would have dreamed of doing anything. And it was incredibly well attended. I was just looking through my phone there because somebody had watched the replay and they came up with the most incredible question that I wanted to read to you in case it resonates with the listeners. And they're saying, the burning question is, what about my other selves, parallel selves on other timelines? If they're all calling their energy back, because that was something we were doing, is calling our energy into the present moment. If they're calling their energy back, what happens to me here in this reality? Am I going to get pulled into their universe because they're pulling me over there, pulling me over here? And it's only when people ask these questions that information comes through. And this is what came through to me as an answer, which was, what if there's an infinite supply of energy? What if yourself was a container calling back leaked consciousness, and in doing so, it's repairing itself? Now, I don't know where all of these things come from. And I think when I was 28, about 1 million years ago, I was like, all the things are finished. I don't need to know anymore. But every day today, I have more questions, and people have more questions, and we're unwrapping this incredible gift of more dimensions coming in, and it's exciting to be alive right now. So I think we're all kind of in a journey of discovery. But what really was noticeable for me was back in September, I felt it was as if parallel lifetimes of me crashed into my own body here in this lifetime. And I had to redo work I'd already done just to clear them as we kind of embodied. And now what I'm feeling now is that the difference between where we are and where other people are, there's a much greater gap. Does that make any sense? So it feels like that we've split and we're getting further apart now. That's what it feels like.
That's really interesting. Let's talk about science fiction for a second, because I'm a lifelong fan of a TV show called Doctor Who, right? Not anymore. I mean, when they turned the Doctor into a woman, that was really the end of it for me. And that's nothing against women. It's just the Doctor's a middle-aged English man, has been for 50, 60 years. They changed it. Not only that, it could have worked, but the actress was rubbish and the scripts were rubbish and everything was rubbish about it. So I just stopped watching it. But when Russell T Davies come back, David Tennant, Donna Noble, I was like, oh, maybe they're going to wipe all that out and we'll have a great new start. And I've got nothing against the guy coming in as the new Doctor. It'd be fantastic. And I watched it last week and I wanted to slip my wrists. And what was interesting about that is a number of things. I mean, cancel culture, the death of culture, Disney and everything, what they've done with Star Wars, Star Trek, and all the other big, culturally important. When I say culturally important, I just mean like hundreds of millions of people watch these things over years. These stories mean things to people. You can't just say, oh, it's just a TV show, because they've meant things to people over a very long period of time. And what the BBC have done, in cahoots with Disney, is double down on the nonsense. They made the Doctor be told off because he was white and male and he was stupid, and they had the transgender version of Donna's son, daughter, blah blah, pushing this whole narrative instead of making
an alien asking for pronouns.
Yeah, instead asking an alien for pronouns, instead of actually just telling a story about a man in a blue box. No, they couldn't. That's not good enough. Now, I know all of this is God's plan, and it is about. I got told to let go, and I was like, I'll let go of everything. Not Doctor Who. Yes, Doctor Who. Everything, right? You got to let go of everything. What do you think to all of that? What do you think to all of that stuff that's happened or is happening in entertainment and everything else? It's all. I mean, I've been making videos on Twitter and Telegram for the last few months, just 10-minute videos in the morning coffee, just saying you just got to let everything go, and it's all there to serve you and all of that. But it is still difficult when all these things happening. You've got all this immigration going on in Ireland and America and the UK. You've got people terrified of UN soldiers being shipped. Where are you guys with all of that?
I think it's a wake-up call. It is serving to wake people up. Everyone gets woken up by one different thing. And from what I can see, it's waking people up, all this absurdity, because it is so ridiculous now. Even the most asleep people are starting to realise something's not adding up. So I think it's doing its job.
Yeah, I agree with you, Julian.
I did kind of predict it. Look, I've got a Dalek there, I've got a Cyberman there, I've got Tom Baker there, and I got Spock and Kirk there. I'm going to put this on the wall. What do you reckon?
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
Well, with your new wall
out there,
that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these characters have gone now, but yeah.
But it's giving us an opportunity here to start creating something new. And this is something that we've been working on, and that you've started with your franchising and the health centers. They say, let's step away from the system. And when you look at the system and how it's been built on pain and enslavement and fear, that's the culture as well, and it's up for grabs. Let's make new characters that people will love, set up new healthcare systems. I was like asking God, what am I to do next? I have to write children's stories next. So now I've come out now. I'm going to write some children's stories, maybe come up with some characters and teach spiritual principles and the sacredness of life with children. I mean, I've had 4 children, so I can certainly level it at different age groups. But, when you look at what's in the child, I was in Portland Airport and I saw Non-Racial Baby book. And it's like, how could a baby be racist? Well, that doesn't make any sense.
Do you mean a non-racist baby?
Non-racist baby. Yeah.
Every baby is non-racist.
Exactly. And that was the title of this book. And it's like, and we've heard about some of the horrific books that are on the Irish reading list for the school. And I'm like, what are the antidote books to that? Who's writing the books that are teaching children that their body is sacred, that relationships are sacred, you know, that life is sacred. Your body's not a playground. It's not something you can, it's not a toy. You can't cut off a piece of it and grow it back.
What?
You know, and that's what they're doing, isn't it?
I've been treating mine like a playground for 54 years.
Yeah, but you know, people think that when you cut off pieces of your body that they'll grow back if they want them back again, and they won't.
Well, that brings me on to med beds. Let's talk about, shall we talk about med beds for a minute? Should we go there?
Anything you like.
Well, Sky, you know, I've been following Sky Prince for a few years, and I like her. And she's supposed to be a member of the SSP that works on med beds. And she's been told that to make a med bed video by the 17th of December as a target date. Don't get married to the date. That's what she said. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And then people are writing to me saying, don't bother with your healing center. Med beds are coming. And I'm like, well, that's the whole point why I've built a healing center, because they may be coming, but I ain't seen one yet. Where are you going?
Yeah, I think med beds are going to play a really important part from stepping out of the old paradigm into the new. But then as we go up dimensionally, we won't need the physical med bed. We'll be able to do the the healing energetically. But I think that they're going to play a really important part. And I think it's like anything, when one paradigm comes to an end, we need to fill it with something else, because then otherwise there's a power vacuum or a big space, and that's when not so great stuff comes in. So, you know, Abby's idea about her books for children, that's filling that space from one paradigm to the other. The med beds, I think, are going to be really important to step from sort of like your National Health Service in the UK and the medical system into another realm, and then ultimately will be energy healing. But that's just, you know, where I'm coming from. I think they're going to be really helpful and really necessary. And also it's that bridge, isn't it, between the tangible, you go to a clinic, you get a med bed, people are still tied into that idea, rather than, as we know, you can heal yourself. But
well, we are the med beds. Louise Hay wrote that book, You Can Heal Yourself. We know this, right? But with all pieces of equipment and all kind of services that have existed that I've talked about the last 3 years and other people have used and whatever, they're bridges, right?
Yeah.
They're bridges to that place. And consciousness for me is manifesting in real time. Hence, we're seeing people go out of focus. We're seeing NPCs disappear, perhaps. We're seeing the moon arising when it should have already been down in a different place. We're seeing UFOs. I've seen dragons made of light. You guys see elementals. We feel these things. We know these things are tangible and real. People, us three especially, know and talk about this stuff. But these things are here for the people that don't quite get that yet, right?
Well, I don't know. I think they're here for us as well. I mean, we need a witness to our healing process. And so coming to a healing center, such as one that you've had, will give that opportunity for people to witness somebody, for someone to say, oh, you're looking great now. You've come 3 times and I can really see the improvement in you. Whereas maybe you didn't feel it yourself because you were doubting. What we really need to do is learn the power of mind over body. But where we can shift and change things energetically, our body might still need resources to help it. You know, you could be missing nutrients, you could be missing frequencies, maybe you need some mushrooms, and maybe you need, you know, a bit of this different kind of light, or different kind, you know, or you just even need a sanctuary away from home. Maybe your home is just so chaotic that to be able to go to a space where you feel that you can relax and completely expand. I mean, I find it when I go to the mountains or to the forest. But maybe, you know, you have to go to the healing center to get that feeling, and just somebody holding space for you allows you to open up. That allows the healing to take place. So I think, you know, the whole purpose of us having bodies and being here, whatever frequency we're at, is to be together and do it together. I mean, we've had a period where we went off and became very individualistic and it's all about doing it yourself. But now we really need our communities, and it's the communities holding space for each other. And the love that comes from that, and the tolerance and the patience and understanding. I'm really seeing so many new communities building around these new systems. It's just beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. I mean, you have met so many people, Mark, when you've been giving talks about health, and you and Gary and what you're creating there, and all of us finding each other. Suddenly I can have a conversation about something that I couldn't speak to with my family. I mean, your expectation around what a community is changing too. And I think it's all part of it. So
yeah, well, I think big part of like hyperbaric oxygen, the Orinoco, we've just ordered the trifecta bed from America. It's going to be the first one in Europe, which is a red light bed, near infrared, which is incredible.
oh wow.
I think these things are all really there for they assist in spiritual development, because they get rid of they allow the cells to operate at a better in a better way. And a big part of the control mechanisms that have been in place all of our lives is the sheer level of toxins that have gone into us on a cellular level that are having to be removed. I mean, I'm much less toxic than I was 3 years ago, even 3 months ago, and it's a lot of work because there's a lot of bloody toxins.
Is that as above, so below, Mark?
Well, I think, yeah, precisely. And when that happens, when the toxins get removed from the body on the physical level, this affects all the other bodies, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual bodies definitely get affected by that, because that's part of the kind of anchoring in 3D that has been the toxins and the debris inside each cell. So the red light helps with that, the oxygen helps with that, and then the Orinoco is much more spiritual, but it's energetic. And you know, and the structured water. I mean, that's just 101. You know, everybody that comes in, the first thing we ask them is, "What water are you drinking?" And 9 times out of 10, it's like tap water or the water from the garage. It's rubbish. You've got to stop drinking non-structured water. Now, have I put your website up there, right, Abby? I'm just putting it on screen for everybody.
Yeah, that's great. Everything's on the homepage there.
I want to tell everybody about this. So just talk it through briefly, one day at a time. It's a beautiful.
Well, what I've been doing, and I love this one in particular because the lilac is from my Nana, and she always loved purple, and I haven't had a lilac one, so I got to do all the pictures and everything. And I worked with Nicole, who's a mutual friend of ours, to help lay it out.
Nicole designed this.
Yeah, Nicole designed that, and she designed Godwin's, and she helped me design this because I made it myself. But what this is a year-long journey of personal healing and transformation based on the astrology of what's coming up next year. So I give affirmations, but they're not for every day because they're very powerful ones. And so they could hold you 2 or 3 days, but it's really about empowering you to do your own work. So, I mean, even from the beginning here, you would write a contract to yourself that I will not be hard on myself if I miss a day. And there's invocations and there's themes, like the overarching theme here is, can you see, a self-love, quotations. And this is where I use the power of words to share. So when you read these things out loud, they become very powerful. I mean, I've written a prayer for you, and you use this diary in a world where life seems to have turned upside down, where anger is everywhere. Let's have our own quiet revolution within, and this to be something to hold you throughout the year. And people during the pandemic, they say that they used my diaries and it was what really got them through. And what's great about this is I've got QR codes. Now I know how people feel about QR codes, but the QR codes take you directly to free meditations on the website. That's basically emulate the energy that we're invoking. And there's activities to deepen your healing session. And every month has a theme, like awareness in January, and March would be gratitude. And I love this because some of these pictures I've taken myself, and it can be really powerful. And then there's check-ins, and I managed to sneak in some coloring. I'll see, can I just show you a coloring page? I've got a coloring page, and this is actually a healing session.
Who did that? Who drew that?
Well, this one is one that I've paid for from Canva, but my daughter and I have a coloring book, and so she's going to make brand new mandalas for the next year because we didn't have time to put it together. But I do have a coloring book that's also available, and that's on my website too.
Well, that's very therapeutic as well, isn't it? I've heard that. I've not done colouring in for about 50 years, but it's supposed to be really good for you, isn't it?
Well, I have a book called A to Z Spiritual Coloring Affirmations.
A to Z. What are you, American?
Oh,
Yeah,
it's A to
you are
Z.
then.
Yeah, I am kind of. But here's the thing, they're so powerful, affirmations, when you take each word as a frequency. You're not just saying it here, but you're bringing it right through your body. And I've got 2 workshops on YouTube that are free, and I've connected this into those. So if you're not sure how to use them, you can click the QR code to come to my YouTube channel and just do the workshop on how to take, I mean, I am here, I am whole, I am safe, and bring that all the way through your body. And you feel in your heart, I am here, I am whole, I am safe. And then you feel it from the stomach, and it's different again.
I've heard the Irish version of that.
Go on.
I am here, I am me whole.
There's only one person in this country who can say that. He happens to be one of our leaders, which is just terrible. But just show you one more spread. So we've got July, patience and tolerance. And the reason why I've called the theme for that month patience and tolerance is because it's going to be a particularly difficult month astrologically. So these are kind of designed to balance out the energies that are coming. So.
Well, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. I'll just show everybody where they can go. abby-win.com. There's the lovely website. And where do they get it from? Books, presumably?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of books there. I'm starting to have books available on my website. You can go and buy them directly from me, which is really fun, actually, because I get to see everybody buying my books instead of from Amazon, where you never get to find out who's buying the books. So,
yeah, well, I think it's great. You know, if you can buy direct, do that, because Amazon is the best way of delivering a print-on-demand book. Me and Abby are going to do it with our book. I'm thinking of bringing out a version of God Wins without pictures that I can possibly put on there. By the way, I forgot to mention, I've written a book as well. Mine's really good. And you can get that.
Really good.
It's really good. If you've not seen it, look, it's got lots of pictures in.
What did you open to last stand in Dublin? Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a funny story about Last Stand in Dublin, because when I wrote it, there's some good pictures in here. I don't know if I get the camera on this right.
Yes.
That there is now in my toilet, because I had that behind me for a good year, and I got given that in Dublin. Yeah, that's when I wrote that poem, and it went viral on Facebook, I think, in 2020. And there's a line in it, and I'd never heard anybody say the words Squire de Dannan out loud, and I went Twatha de Dannan because I'd only ever seen it written down. And this poem, like 30,000 views in a day, and I was like, oh God, how embarrassing. But yeah, I've got some copies of this left on the markattwoodshow.com Christmas present. Whatever, don't really care, but you know, supporting these guys write books. Do you know how hard that is? There's a lot of work, and I've never seen anybody work. I don't know how they do it. They just boom, I've written a new book. It's like just pops them out. It's incredible. But I know you put a huge amount of work into them, so please support them both if you can. And Julian, I'm just trying to find your website here to show everybody, because your first this book of yours is a follow-up to the one you did last year, isn't it?
Yeah, this was the first one, Enchanted Earth. I wrote this in 2017. But
was it that long ago?
Yeah, people weren't ready for it because it talks about my star heritage and creation and that sort of thing.
Brilliant book, guys. It's really brilliant because it's like telling a history of us, really, isn't it?
It's very unique. It talks about my experience of overseeing the developing consciousness of humanity, and also my experiences in different incarnations of different forms. And this one, my latest one, Spiritual Development in 5D, it's practical. It gives practical advice on developing your spirituality and stepping into your divine self, because many people are ready for that now. But also it talks about my work clearing the dumbs, the ley lines, all that sort of thing as well in the back. And it's also got, you know, restore, refresh, re-energize, how to set up your home in a sacred space, spiritual protection, like I said earlier, safely communicating with ETs. So it's a little book, but there's a lot in it, and lots of people are saying they can dip in and dip out of it. It's not, you know, it doesn't take forever. So yeah.
Well, don't be put off by the size, because when I was a 4'0" kid, my nan used to say to me, all the best things come in small packages. You're not right. You weren't right about everything, Nan. Let's put it that way. Sorry, that was a reference to, no, it doesn't matter. But so that's on julianengland.com. Click on books and you can get both of those, and there's a link to the Amazon there. And the new one is, I mean, it's a lot to do with timing when these things come out, isn't it?
Definitely. When it was interesting, because when I wrote Enchanted Earth, remember back in 2017, nobody was talking about being incarnated from a different universe, and I really thought I was, well, everyone thought I was nuts that I gave it to, but now people are really seeing it. And you know, when I said the awakening of the collective consciousness in the last 6 years, it's just gone. People are ready for this book now. You know, when I wrote it, my guide said it'll be like, it'll catch fire. It's a slow burner, but then it'll catch fire. Well, I think this is the time for it, with the ET disclosure and that, you know, because it talks about it in a very benign way that isn't threatening for people. And then the next one is also, people are looking for their own connection to source, aren't they? They're realizing that, to coin one of my sayings, your most direct, your greatest ever resource is your direct connection to source. And I think a lot of people are really realizing that, and they're looking for practical advice on how to do it. So that's where that book comes in.
It's funny that you say that, because I've written this one back in 2014, and it sat cold in my computer for a year before Hay House published it, and it's only really starting to sell now.
Yeah,
you know. So
if we're going to do a book competition, I wrote this one in 2017. The best digital marketing strategy in the galaxy, probably, which has fuck all to do with spirituality.
Good things come in big packages too, you know.
Oh, I know yours do. Jesus, I wrote this one. I was in 1990. First poetry. Can you see me there? Look, that's me there.
Okay, well, I think there's a reason why there are people ahead of the wave, so that we leave that there for people, and we're working on the next wave.
Like a snail.
So it's like, Julian, now what you're interested in and what I'm interested in is still ahead of its time, possibly, but it will be there when the next wave is ready, and then the next wave, because there's always people, as a friend of mine said, it's like the birds traveling in the V formation. Yeah. The birds in the front are the ones that get all the wind and all, you know, and they do swap places from time to time to get a bit of relief, but they stay up the front, and then everything, it's easier for the other ones to come behind.
Well, that's why my favorite book ever written is Jonathan Livingston Seagull by Richard Bach.
That was a good one.
That's all about a seagull that thinks he can go supersonic, and all the other seagulls are like, "You're fucking mad, mate." And then, you know, but he leads the way. He leads. And what I say about this book is, I want to ask you this actually, because when and thank you for your help on this, Abby. You know, I say if I'm right, it's a collector's edition, which I think it will be, or it's very expensive toilet paper if I'm wrong. But that brings up a point, right? And that is that when you publish these things, you're taking a massive risk, aren't you?
Yeah.
And people rarely talk about that. Let's talk about that for a minute, because you two both understand that.
Yeah. I think for me, Mark, you know, that video we did last year, I met you, you turned up, you put the camera on, and then I bet my soul. And it's like, I didn't quite realize what I was getting into. You know, I'm like bearing my soul and talking about my off-world heritage. And then all of a sudden I've got a public, you know, a public persona almost. And it's like, it is a risk, because like you always saying, you have to let go of everything. You really do have to let go of any kind of ego ideas that people might have about you, or you think they might have, and just go with whatever. And that's the same with the books. When you're bearing your soul, you know, your God Wins book, it just smashes any concept of what anyone's published before, but you've had the guts to do that. So anyone that follows trying to do a book like that, although I don't see how they could, but you've been you're the pioneer in that, and that's that. But it was a risk.
Oh, massive risk. You know, this stuff, I might be wrong about loads in there, but I think the gist of it is right. And what I love about books is that they are like photographs, aren't they? They're a snapshot of a feeling, of a time, and that has great power in and of itself, doesn't it?
It does. I think for me, the risk was different. For me, I'll just show you another book I have here. This one is again with a traditional publisher. And the risk for me was, if I write it the way the publisher wants it to be written, I won't be true to myself.
I'm glad you said that.
You know, and I had to have arguments with them. Now, I didn't have a say. I wanted a lion on the cover, because to heal your inner wounds, you have to have courage and strength. And they gave me this pathetic little bird with a pathetic little flower, thinking, you know, focus on the joy. And so it didn't really sell, but again, it was ahead of its time. But they wanted me to not talk about victim mentality, because, you know, Americans have trouble admitting that they're victims. You know, and I put my foot down with that.
And Abby says that as half American, so don't start shouting at her.
Anyone who's watching this will be able to handle it, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. But it brings up a thing about publishing, because I've mentioned Stuart Wilde and Louise Hay and Reed Tracy, who runs Hay House.
Yeah.
So he was the accountant across the hallway. That's the official story. Who overheard, and she went on Oprah, and he was like, "I'll help you," and then runs this.
I've had lunch with him, and he wouldn't look at me at all.
Well, I went to one of the I went to one of the writers' workshop about 13 years ago, and I stood up in front of all these writers, and I thought it was really funny. It was really funny, Reed. You just didn't have a sense of humor, but it was about pitching your book idea and everything else. Look, I actually haven't.
It's the X factor. That's what it is. Somebody had called it that, the X factor for authors. And did you know, and I hope they're not watching this, but they came to Ireland and they did not invite me. And I was the only Irish published author by Hay House.
But you're not bitter or pissed off or twisted.
But I'm actually not.
I know you're not. I'm joking.
Because it's the freedom of not having to be beholden to anyone. So Julian can do her writing freely, because she doesn't have to worry about, you know, we have you in this little box, Julian, and you're not allowed to talk about anything outside of that box. And that's not the case now.
Well, I made, because when I was doing Enchanted Earth, I got offers of publishing, but they wanted the rights, so I didn't go with it. I think Mark's frozen.
So, yeah. Is he frozen? The excitement energy freezes you.
So yeah, feeling back. Yeah, I wouldn't refuse some publishers because I didn't want to give up the rights to my book, and obviously following my intuition's paid off. No,
I think self-publishing is going to be, it is the way forward, actually, you know, because we have that freedom, and then that gives the readership so much more choice as well.
Yeah. And the reason I went with Amazon is because people have bought it in Australia, in Germany, in Canada. The postage to send it over there would have just made it not worth it, you know. So that's the reason I went with them.
If we're writing the books, we don't need to print them and sell them and ship them and post them ourselves. Oh, look, it's a second Mark Attwood. Here you are.
Everything disappeared there for like a minute. Did it disappear for you?
We were chatting away without you. We did grand.
Everything disappeared as you were talking. So you've probably gone on to talk about other things, but I'm still stuck in the publishing, because I think it's very interesting and important to talk about this, because I was going to do a video this morning about how we've all been MK Ultra'd. The whole world has been demonically possessed and mind controlled for a very long time. And of course, when you are possessed or under mind control, you don't realize it. You know, and Cliff High has been talking a lot recently about the Elohim, which we'll come to maybe in a bit. but also about the fact that millions of people worldwide have been under remote control, mind control, which is part of how they've pulled this off. And I was also going to talk about Brian Gerrish's amazing work at the UK column, because he was the guy that introduced the world to the shocking organization called now I can't bloody remember what they're called, but it's like a version of the Masons that present themselves as continuous professional development. And what they did over the last 20-25 years is recruit people within teaching, local government, police, local authority, everywhere, and pull up the psychopaths and put them in charge. Common purpose.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you pull this shit off? Well, you have organizations like Common Purpose, you have mind control, you have the TV, the media, you have all of this going on. But part of that is the publishing companies, because the publishing companies, what they did with your book by not putting a lion on, putting a little birdie on, and not telling you not to talk about X, Y, Z, is they created a limited hangout. Yeah. And that's been their modus operandi forever. That's what the Council of Nicaea was all about with the Bible. It was create a limited hangout. That's what the Truther movement has done. I talked about truth, the truth about truthers this morning. It's a video on Telegram and Twitter. You know, limited hangouts is the key to the control system, where you give enough information away, but you don't give it all. And I first realized this years ago when I read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And the story behind that is that Andrew Carnegie, who was like the Bill Gates of his day, got this journalist, Napoleon Hill, and said, right, I'm going to give you my Rolodex to all the richest people in the world, and you're going to write a book on how to think and grow rich by becoming rich by thinking that you're rich. And it became the beginning of the self-help movement. But funnily enough, it was in the 1920s, so which is also ties in back with the Great Reset. So it's the reformation of society. And it was written about exactly the same time as Edward Bernays's propaganda. Bernays was related to Freud. The Freud family continue in media now. The biggest PR agency in Britain is owned by a Freud, a great nephew of Bernays's and the Freuds. You know, they're all part of the same bloody system. And somebody handed me a book the other day, and the first thing I do when somebody gives me a book is I look at the back and who published it. And the back of this one, it was Penguin, and I was like, well, I can't trust this, you know, because I have zero trust for any mainstream publisher, because they, you know, when I visit my mum, she's always reading a book, and I'm like, why are you wasting your brain on this crap when you could be reading this? I just hit myself in the eye. I get a little bit passionate, because it's part of the mind control. Because you know, and what we're seeing now with all the paedophilic, sexually inappropriate books that are being pushed through the school system is designed to wake us up, in my belief. But you know, there's no hiding their true. Well,
that's what came up. I had a dream about that this morning, where I was calling them out for it and shouting and saying, "You don't know what you're doing." And I woke up feeling that I have to buy those terrible books so I can write the antidote. And I'm like, no, I don't want to read them. I don't want to see them. But that was what was coming through. You can't make an antidote to poison if you don't understand the poison.
I think that's a really good point, Abby. And that's why, you know, the yin and the yang people wanting to not want everything. They want everything to be love and light. You need to see and realize what you're dealing with. So.
Well, that's been a long-running argument for me in my own head since somebody that I did work with years ago said, stop going on about the satanic paedophilia and stuff, because it's all an inside job. And I was like, but people need to know, because if you don't know what the enemy is doing, you don't realize there's an enemy. And then people say, well, if you think there's an enemy, then you're at war and you're creating conflicts, and then you've got a problem, because that's not going to help with ascension. And then you've got all the other people going on about, you can't ascend if you drink beer, if you have sex and you eat meat,
and you swear.
Like, for fuck's sake, and then swearing. Yeah. It's like, well, pretty much fucking nobody's ascending at this rate.
Just one thing I want to just mention, Mark, when you started off this section by talking about MK Ultra, I've energetically on the higher realms, I've been undoing a lot of this MK Ultra spells, you know, in terms of my clearing work. I went to Solomon's Temple near Buxton on Saturday, and they'd had the Bilderberg conference at the Palace Hotel.
Buxton is packed with it, isn't it?
Yeah. And I just stood on the hillside and just undid a load of that programming and spells. And so, yes, the MK Ultra's been put on us all, but we're undoing it, you know?
Well, that's what I've been trying to tell the audience for 3 years. We're all doing it, whether we realize it or not. I mean, Julian and Abby really good at the energy work and everything else. But actually, most of the people watching this are light workers and are doing it just by being alive.
Meme makers doing it as well.
I mean, that's why
it's
all about words. You know, this could just be a bunch of words, or it could be how you take your power back and start to say no to things. I mean, I have a whole month here on sovereignty. If I can find the picture just to show you, because I felt we need this now, sovereignty. And
interesting, you put a cat there.
Well, cats,
No, that's interesting because this has come up a lot for me recently with the cats because of Lyra. In fact, somebody the other day said, "You're definitely a Lyran, Mark," and I was like, "Really?" You know, because and I didn't know what Lyra was until a couple of years ago.
I think we're all parts of everything.
Oh, you know? Really? How many?
It's time for all of us to unapologetically claim our space in the world. You know, I exist, I am here, therefore I am worthy. And if you really feel that and you get your boundaries strong because you're holding that energy of it, then, you know, we do have to look inside and look at all the conditioning and unpick that and unravel that and own it and go, okay, maybe I am wrong about things, you know, and we work things out in our dreams. We work things out when we're talking together. And that's when you let things go. Like we were saying, you have to let go of the need to always be right.
No, I'm not letting go of that. I'm right about everything. No, I'm not. No, when you were saying that, I was actually thinking about this the other day, which I think it was Descartes that said, "I think, therefore I am."
Mm-hmm.
And it popped into my head because I was like, it's the fucking wrong way round. It's I am, therefore I think.
Yeah.
And that's part of the inversion, you know, having all these quotes all over the internet and Wikipedia and on the back of books and everything else. All of these things are going in to create the matrix inside us to hide our true selves from ourselves.
I had an epiphany when I was with you in the Sahara, was a year ago.
Yeah.
About the Kabbalion, which are the 7 spiritual principles, and how MK Ultra actually works. And I think I gave a presentation on it, but I didn't realize it was MK Ultra at the time, but I had heard it repeated in my head, MK Ultra, MK Ultra. And I said it to the girls that were there, why does this keep coming up for me? So I was giving my talk and you were there, you were in the tent, and then you just jumped up and you said, that's MK Ultra. And I'm like, oh my God. So we're, you know, when you figure out how these things are made, then you can start to either make something similar to unmake it, or you can dissolve it away or bring in the alchemy to create something new. And, you know, it's like a lot of us are saying, a lot of the technology that we're using, we like to use it. We can still use it, but we use it for good. We can, you know, what you say, Mark, use their weapons against them. We can still have our phones. We can still have our coffee machines in the house. But, you know, when we're choosing what we're using them for and the intention behind them, that's what changes everything.
Agreed. And I think we can reclaim things. Don't forget, we can reclaim language. You know, I still say good morning. I don't say grand risings.
Yeah, I can't
say it.
No, I can't. But I've consciously told myself that good morning is not, I've reclaimed it. It's like I'll celebrate Christmas. I'm not celebrating Satanism. I'm celebrating a family joyful Yuletide time. We don't, and same with, you know, the Halloween. We can have a party, and I dedicated our party to the children. We don't have to do it. We can turn it back on them. You know, we can still carry on with our customs.
Well, it's like the word God and the word love, the 2 most fundamental things that carry the most baggage to totally take your own emotional charge away from the word, strip it clean of what people tell you it means, and then learn what it actually means for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, and make jokes. You know, I mean, if you guys watching this want to write some jokes in the comments, try making fun of MK Ultra. For me, it sounds like a sanitary towel made in Milton Keynes.
With wings. With wings.
You MK Ultra.
Long lasting, yeah.
Everlasting.
Yeah.
Milton Keynes, by the way. Milton Keynes. When I was a little boy, we used to drive across where is now Milton Keynes. And my great grandfather would point out the car window and say, after I'm dead, this will all be built up. And I'd be like, wow, it's a futuristic city they're building. It's going to be amazing. It turned out it was Milton fucking Keynes, full of roundabouts, right? And right and smack bang in the middle of Milton Keynes is a cinema, or was a cinema, where I went to see Top Gun and Rita Sue and Bob 2, which I also starred in the national theatres around the UK many years ago. 40,000 people paid to see my naked bum. Can you believe it? But anyway, there was this pyramid, and it was called The Point, and that was the cinema in Milton Keynes. And I was very happy to go back to Milton Keynes about 4 or 5 years ago and see it derelict. And the whole place is soulless. It's horrible. It's called a Mark III Newtown. Anybody doesn't know what that is, go and Google it, and you'll find out about the way that, you know, that whole redesigning of the whole of the UK was all part of this social engineering Tavistock bullshit. And if anybody from CIA is listening, I still think your mind control program sounds like Ladies Bits stuff thing from a shit town in England. So go and fucking suck on that, you wankers.
I'm just
Anyway,
at Lucy Liu says MK Ultra now with wings.
yeah,
Well, that's
yeah.
the thing, humor. You know, I still look at Fake Book, and the memes on it, they just crack me up every day. And it's the humor that transmutes this energy. They try to put something serious, they try to put fear out there. A fantastic meme maker will just make a meme of it, and it's totally transmuted the energy of the message, and I love it.
Memes have been critical.
Bob Moran, the artist, and how he was taking these very serious things and caricaturing them. You know, it's really important, and people are going, oh, I didn't see it that way. The very famous one, the one that always gets me, is the big demon and the mother standing there protecting her child from him, you know.
Yeah, and he got closed down. I think it was in a theatre in Newcastle, because they said he was about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I think. And I joined in with the attack in the theatre, because you people running these theatres that closed them down because you've been called up by some fucking wiseacre saying it's right-wing bollocks, you're a complete coward, and we'll be coming for you at the right appropriate time.
Well, I wrote to the theatre that wouldn't have my son come along to watch a play for the leaving certificate, to say, you're putting on all these plays about justice and fairness and, you know, challenges, and yet you're cutting people out. Do you even realize what you're doing? It's like they're not even thinking about what they're doing. I mean, they're losing all their audience. There's going to be a day where they're going to, you know, we're going to just open a new theater and we'll all go there, and they can feck off.
Well, this is why I've been saying we have to. My last email was called "Building the New While the World Burns Around You," because we have to build what the world that we want, or the facilities that we want, and we've got all the resources in front of us. Not everybody has access to them all, but everybody's invited, and everybody can chip in, and everybody can join in. And it's incredibly powerful and simple to do, you know. And I actually was thinking about opening a cinema for the same reason, because I came across all this censorship years ago. I worked at the Daily Telegraph in 1989, I think it was, and I remember having a drink with the former editor of the Gay Times from the 1960s. He was a brilliant writer, and he'd been working at the Daily Telegraph, I think, by then for about 20 years. And I said, what's it been like? And he said, well, I've only ever had one headline that made it through without being edited by the sub-editors. And I went, in 20 years? And I said, what was it? He said, oh, well, I wrote a piece about the Archers, and the headline was Tumty, 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 Tum. He was a very funny guy. But that was the only one they never edited. And I remember looking at him going, I don't think journalism's a job for me. I couldn't stand it if somebody wouldn't let me write. It was back to the same thing.
But
you
this
know,
was John Waters. This is what John Waters was saying, was how when he started off as a journalist, his pieces came back with 15 million edits. And then as he kept going, he realized there was less and less edits, and he thought he was doing a great job. And then he realized, no, I'm writing what they want me to write. I'm writing because they taught him in by the
train you.
They trained him in, yeah. So he stopped doing that.
Well, journalism as well. I used to talk on the local BBC radio station about therapy, and the producer had asked me a question, and then when I got on the show live, they would change the question and lead me up a road they did it near COVID, trying to get me to say that people are health anxious if they refuse to take the product.
Careful.
I wouldn't, but they were really leading me up the path. So they start with one question, and then you get on the live show and they totally take it another way. So, you know, I saw through it then, so I stopped going on. I stopped
Yeah,
going
but
on.
I've been even in the last 2 years, I've been told before live events, don't talk about this, don't talk about that, maybe swear less. So I either cancel the event or I go and swear more or I talk more about it. Because it's so important that people stop being afraid of saying what they think and feel.
Yeah. It starts
But
at school. It really does start at school. I mean, I'm having all these conversations with my children, you know, that they're afraid to speak up, or they just say yes to everything and then walk away and don't fight their corner because they don't feel like it's worth the energy. And you have to, you know, to get the strength to do it, you need to ask for your power back, and then you can fight the fights that are in front of your own face. And as you get little successes, then you can do more and do more. But we have to push it back. It's, you know,
well, look, guys, it's been a wonderful hour to spend with you. I wanted to squeeze it in because I'm trying to squeeze in shows before Christmas, and especially talking about these amazing books that you've created. You guys watching, please go and support. Sorry, I've not got yours in my hand, Julian. I don't know where it is. It's here somewhere. There it is. There it is. And this one's good if you've got a wobbly table. Or an intruder. It's quite heavy. You could bang them on the head with it.
But we're supporting each other more now.
I'm not suggesting anybody does anything violent. That was just a joke, YouTube. All right, Jesus.
Well,
sorry, Abby. I talked over you.
No, I feel when we create new community and we support each other and buy each other's products, and you know, keep the light flowing within everyone, and I think it's really good. I can see it happening. It's brilliant. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. Thank you, Julian. Thank you, Abby. Thanks, guys, for watching. And well, I'm going to be on again before Christmas, so I'm not going to say it's too early to say Happy Christmas. So I'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.